A Viking warrior is dying on a frozen battlefield, a sword still locked in his fist. Blood in the snow, the roar of the fight fading around him. And as his eyes begin to close, here's the strange part. He is not afraid. He is smiling. Because to him, this is not the end of everything. This is the single moment he has been hoping for his entire life. High above the battlefield, a winged woman in armor descends, lifts him gently up, and carries him toward an enormous hall with a roof that glints like solid gold. He made it. He's going to Valhalla. But here's the question almost nobody stops to ask. What actually is Valhalla, and what is waiting for him inside? Because the real answer is far stranger and far darker than Viking heaven. It is not a paradise of peace and rest. It is a place with a hidden purpose. And once you understand what that purpose is, the whole golden dream quietly turns into one of the most haunting ideas the Vikings ever had. It runs deep. Let's get into it.
Start with who even gets through the door, because the rule is brutal. Valhalla, the name literally means Hall of the Slain, is the great hall of Odin, the chief of all the Norse gods. And there is essentially one way in. You have to die in battle, with a weapon in your hand. That's it. Die of sickness, die of old age, die peacefully in your bed, what the Norse grimly called a straw death, and you are turned away at the gate, sent instead to a cold and gloomy underworld, which flips everything you'd expect upside down. To a Viking, dying quietly in bed was not a gentle end. It was a failure. Some old warriors, feeling death come for them, would clutch a blade in their fists just to try and sneak past that gate. But you didn't actually get to choose Valhalla. Valhalla chose you. Sweeping over the battlefield were Odin's warrior women, the Valkyries, the choosers of the slain, and it was they who decided who fell and who was worthy of the hall. And here's the part that almost everyone gets wrong. Odin did not get all of the fallen heroes. He got half. The other half went to the goddess Freya, to her own quiet field of the dead called Folkvanger, and she got to choose first. Valhalla was the famous door. It was never the only one. So say you're chosen, and a Valkyrie carries you up. What's actually waiting inside? Something enormous. The roof is tiled with hundreds of golden shields. The rafters holding it up are made of spears. The benches are draped, not with soft cushions, but with coats of chain armor. And then there are the doors. The myths say 540 of them, each one so impossibly wide that 800 warriors could march out of it side by side. Do that math, and you are talking about an army of hundreds of thousands of men. And that number is the very first clue that this place is not some cozy tavern in the sky. It was built to hold a host. And what does that host do all day? They fight. Every single morning, the chosen warriors arm themselves, march out onto a great open field, and kill one another. For real, hacking each other down until the ground is carpeted with the dead. And then, every single evening, every last one of them rises back up, completely healed, every wound gone, and strolls back inside to celebrate. Savage war all day. A roaring feast all night. Then they wake up and do the whole thing over again, forever. That is the actual daily routine of the Viking afterlife. And what a feast it is, because the food and drink never run out. They eat the meat of a single magical boar, cooked fresh every single day. And every night that same boar comes back to life, whole again, ready to be eaten once more tomorrow. Endless meat. Their drink is mead, and it pours endlessly from the udder of a goat that stands up on the roof of the hall, grazing on the leaves of the great world tree itself. Endless mead, carried around to them by the Valkyries. Odin himself sits among them eating nothing at all. He only drinks wine, and tosses his share of the meat to his two wolves. It sounds, honestly, like the most perfect place imaginable to spend forever. Now, let's be honest about something, because the full picture matters. Almost everything we know about Valhalla comes from texts written down centuries after the Viking Age had ended, by Christian Icelanders looking back. So we are seeing all of this through a much later lens, and plenty of the details are debated. And Valhalla was never the only afterlife. There was Freya's field, a dark, cold realm for those who died of sickness. Even a hall beneath the waves for those who drowned at sea.
The Norse vision of death was an entire map of destinations, not one single shining door. And here's the one last piece I saved for the end, because it turns the whole golden dream completely on its head. Ask yourself why. Why is Odin gathering hundreds of thousands of the deadliest warriors who have ever lived and drilling them in combat every single day for all of eternity? It is not a reward. He is building an army. He is preparing for Ragnarok, the foretold end of the world, the final battle where the gods face down an entire army of giants and monsters. And here is the gut punch the Vikings genuinely believed. In that battle, the gods are going to lose. The prophecy was certain. Odin himself was fated to be swallowed whole by a monstrous wolf named Fenrir. Those warriors, feasting and laughing in that hall of gold, were training forever for a war they already knew was hopeless. So go back to that warrior, dying in the snow, smiling as a Valkyrie lifts him toward the Hall of Shields. He was not being promised eternal peace. He was being recruited into the most hopeless last stand ever imagined. And that is the most Viking thing of all. Because to them, the goal was never to win. It was to stand and fight without fear, to meet even a doomed and certain end with a weapon in your hand, and to be remembered for how you fought, not for whether you survived. Valhalla was never really a heaven. It was the ultimate proof that, to a Viking, facing the end without flinching was the only victory that ever truly counted.